Hello, I'm Sangita Myska here with you until 4 o'clock on LBC. We are discussing what is going to be a huge story this week, which is that legal migration figures will show that 700,000 people have come into the country legally, and the vast majority of them are coming here to do jobs, to work. The government is going to look for ways of cutting that down, that figure down. And my question to you is, can we do it without harming the economy? Peter in Oxford, hello.
Hello, Sangita. Hi again. Funny enough, we've had this conversation before in the past, you and I.
Have we?
I should declare myself as a legal alien. I'm from Ireland. Like many Irish people, I work in the NHS and have been doing for the past 40 years. And in answer to your original question as to whether you can cut the number of migrants without harming the economy, you can't. I mean, this country has relied on migrant skills and labour for many, many years. Travel is normal. It's normal for people to travel between countries, both British people and others. The world has benefited to a great extent from British people who have brought the skills to other countries. And sadly, with lots of freedom of movement, it's British people above all whose freedom has been restricted. But if you think about all these sectors where people from other countries are active, including hospitality and healthcare, haulage, veterinary services, and so on and so forth. The list goes on and on. You can't just suddenly train local people. And I get rather cross when I hear people like your last caller talking about Indigenous, as if there was something very sacred about that, or indeed as if there was something toxic about people from other countries coming to do work. It's not a question of the country being toxic, being, as it were, spoiled by reliance upon cheap imported labour. Very often you're talking about skills which take years to develop. In my field, as a doctor, if you suddenly start recruiting British school leavers to the service now, they'll be on stream as consultants or GPs in the late 2030s at the very earliest. And so this business of filling with local people is nonsense. Plus, of course, we've got a demographic gap. We've got a lot of people off the workforce because of COVID. There are, in many parts of the country, simply not enough people, never mind not enough trained people to do the jobs. And so it's quite normal to rely on people from other countries. I think it's unfair to people like you and me to talk about cheap imported labour. And the final point I was going to make is that, look at the Cabinet. The top 4 senior positions of state, 3 of them are occupied by people who are the children of immigrants.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that.
Can I ask you a question? Did you hear the interview I did with Dr. Jonathan Portis, who's an economist?
Earlier on today, I agree entirely with what you said.
He said something very interesting, which I'd quite like to pick up with you, which was when I put the question to him, can we cut legal migration without harming the country? He said, look, you can cut legal migration, but like you, Peter, he said there will be some harm to the country. And as long as people are prepared economically, certainly in the short term, but it might be the case that people are prepared to accept that. And since I did that interview with him just, 55 minutes ago, I've been thinking about whether or not there is a level of harm we as a society will agree to. And by harm, I mean harm to the economy, GDP, growth, in order that we somehow bring down the tension around the conversation about immigration. Does that make sense?
That's based on a false premise, Sangita, which is that demand from migrants is in some way competing with the needs of local people. And that applies especially, is it applied especially in healthcare and education and so on? Well, just think about in the queue for health services, it's much more likely that the person serving the queue is from abroad than the person standing in front of you.
For sure.
And simply, if you simply removed all quotation marks migrants or expats, whatever you like to call them, from the economy, the indigenous people, to use that horrible word your previous caller used.
It's a horrible word. Let's not use it. He means British people, I think. And to be fair, I think he accepted it wasn't the right language.
But those people, it would be of no benefit. Housing, building trade is reliant on people from other countries. So none of that makes sense. And I think in answer to the question about the economy, the government is crowing about the fact that they've just about managed to escape being in recession by having a 0.1% increase in the size of the economy in the last quarter. And everybody agrees that had there been no migration, no immigration, that 0.1% would have been a negative figure. So we would now be in recession. Now, are we saying that's a small price to pay for the benefits, so-called, of having fewer migrants? Well, I don't think there are benefits for the reasons I've told you.
Peter in Oxford, thank you very much indeed for calling. Interesting, very, very interesting and thoughtful call, thank you. Hassan in Cambridge, hello.
Yeah, hi, Sangita. I think we've got some very good callers, especially the person who just finished right now. I think it's we as a society, we have a declining sort of population growth rate. We do need immigrants. We have massive labor shortages. I think the Tory party has been banging the anti-immigration drum for so long